CPM, I just want to ask, the party has introduced 15 candidates so far. I'd just like to ask for your...
15, sorry.
Yeah. I'd just like to ask for your assessment of the reception to the candidates thus far, some of which has been negative. And my second question is about the way the candidates are introduced. I think there's some people feel that it's very staged to introduce them like this, and I'm just wondering if the party has considered if this is still the best way, or if there are other ways that you're thinking of.
Well, we think that this is a very good way of introducing new candidates, because it gives all of you an opportunity to sit down and ask them very serious questions. If we were to do this on the go, that is during constituency walkabouts and say, now you interview this candidate, I don't think the environment is appropriate for a serious interview. Now, for the candidates we have, people just got to know them. We believe that we have chosen very good candidates, and we believe that they will help us renew our slate, and they will join the team, and they will improve as time goes on, as they learn from the experiences. As to the reception they have received, from what I've seen, what I've heard on the ground as well, and from feedback from my colleagues, I think they've been well received. There could be some who made some comments based on what they perceive, but until you see the person, until you see what the person does, you don't really are in a position to make a good assessment. Ultimately, the voters will look at the person and say, is this someone I want to vote for and who will represent me in Parliament? And if the person is elected a few years later, at the next election, they say, is this person I want to elect to continue to serve me? I think that is the appropriate way of assessing any candidate or any MP's performance.
I would like to direct this question to all three candidates. As recent outsiders, what do you think are the shortcomings with the party?
As some of you would know, I just left EDB last Thursday, so I'm a very new member. And I personally identify with the attributes and the core value of the party, and I'm still trying to get into better attune with the machinery. And looking at, if you ask me what do it will probably be if we can have higher representation from, say, the private sector. It might be a way to bring on board what are some issues that the PMETs will face, or even businessmen who have grown the business successfully will face. But having said that, then that was something that I thought to myself. Then having said that, I looked at the NMPs, and I realized that actually the representation by the chambers or the business association have somewhat helped to plug that gap.
Yes, Patrick.
I think being involved in the various branches, I think one of the challenges, I wouldn't say the shortcomings, but one of the challenges that the party faces, particularly at the grassroots level, would be trying to attract more young people and renewing the branches. I think that's one, I wouldn't exactly say shortcoming, but a big challenge which we have for the party, having been involved in the party for this many years.
John Jin?
I think I'll answer it not so much from a party perspective, but I think from overall governance, the areas which I am interested in and think that probably we could do more. Education is one area. I think people are our most important resource, not to exploit, but I think to nurture. I think that's where, again, trade-offs need to be done. We know we need good, strong, competent people to grow so that they can continue to contribute meaningfully in society, but at the same time, the character, the heart and soul of a nation. And can we have the cake and eat it? The number of hours our children are spending in school. As a parent, my daughter is 13. We went through the whole PSLE adventure, which everybody goes through periodically, and you get a sense of. But it's not easy to pinpoint what the correct solution is. But what I do know is to contend for that space, to help our children be children, perhaps, and yet bring them up in a way where you can perhaps strike a balance of both. Another area is in terms of, which I mentioned earlier, about engaging people and alternative views. From my perspective, I think respect is a very important word to me, how we engage, and that's something I feel strongly about. Obviously, there are many, many views, some a bit more vitriolic than others, but the fact is they have that right to speak, even if we may disagree. And it's try to understand, does it make sense, what are the deeper reasons, and I think at the end of it, to have a sense what is that perspective from different segments in society and how best to reach out to them. And maybe a last point really is, which I used to think that perhaps we could possibly do more for the lower income group. But then I also realized now, having been involved to some degree, having a sense of what happens in the grassroots, there are many, many things that are going on to actually help the people in the lower income group. And I think it's actually very encouraging. Although we sometimes think that whether there's too many regulations, but I think what I do know is that at the grassroots levels, MPs do have a lot of capacity to reach out and make differences. Like the place where perhaps I might go in Chai Chi and areas like that where there are a lot of rental flats. There are a lot of measures in place to help our people. So this was something I started off thinking that perhaps we could do more, but as I begin to realize, actually there are many things going on. But well, I think it's something that we can continue to plug away at to make sure that the income disparity does not continue, and how do we ensure that income transfers can continue to flow in a meaningful way.
Do you see politics more as service or leadership? And if elected, how do you intend to balance the need to maybe serve the common man, yet not shy away from exercising leadership to persuade the people and persuade policy to build a better future for themselves and protect it?
When I enlisted in the army, I went to Sandhurst for my training, and the motto is serve to lead. And I think that's a very apt motto that we can actually stand by. I think we are at the same time serving, but at the same time leading. I don't think both are mutually exclusive. I think there are times when you lead from the front. Oftentimes, I think you lead side by side with your men and your people, and sometimes behind. Because there are little things that you need to sort out. People drop things, pick up along the way, or to push people along. I think the key thing about leadership really is to have it's a whole menu of different styles, different abilities, and to apply them in ways that is sensible, but ultimately guided by one thing, which is ultimately what is best for our people and our nation. And I think once that focus is there, like I said earlier, I don't think you can go very far wrong in terms of how you try to reach that destination with our people.